All right, so here we go. This is another emergency Alaboom. That might be a misnomer because I've had a couple people like who I emailed about gave the link out. They're like, "What's the emergency?" Like there was actually
You should probably just call this a spoiler-filled extra Alaboom or something like
It's
that.
an emergency because Lance has got shit to say.
Apparently so.
Well, no, I did post like in the description. It said all spoiler talk time or whatever, something along those lines. So if you are tuning into this, either live or after the fact, just know that there will be tons of Game of Thrones spoilers, tons of Avengers Endgame spoilers. So if you have not watched either of those,
You have chat disabled
Run
for this
away.
live stream.
I have chat disabled.
Yep. I can't
No, I
see the
don't.
chat.
I'm looking at it right now, and I see people chatting.
It is showing
Reload
chat.
it.
Let me reload it. Okay, there we go. We got it now.
Yeah, because Kabuki Kid just posted something, and
Okay, yeah, I see it now. It was just a YouTube blip.
all right. Well, let's discuss Endgame first. Does anybody really want to go first, or I mean, I can just start us off.
You guys can go first because I don't have strong opinions. I just have little things to nitpick.
Yeah, Endgame for me was I thought it was a good movie. I didn't think it was like the most amazing movie of all time or anything like that. Just kind of going through some of the big moments, the big touchstone things for me. I enjoyed Professor Hulk. I thought that was like a kind of a cool rendition of Hulk that we had not seen before, so I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the fact that it kept me guessing as to whether or not Clint or Natasha was going to be the one that had to give up their lives to get the stone.
That one was predictable for me.
Oh, see, I see. I just because I wasn't predictable for
I
me
disagree.
because the Black Widow movie is in production.
I know that's what threw me. That was a total. I thought for sure it was going to be Hawkeye, because if not, then that pretty much confirms the Black Widow movie's a prequel now instead of
Black Widow would not let him sacrifice himself because he's got a family.
I get it, but I just figured he was going to figure out a way to do it. That actually threw me. I actually expected it to be Hawkeye.
I actually don't think the Black Widow movie is going to be a prequel. I think it's going to end up being, because of the fact that Loki gets away with the Tesseract, that version of Loki is going to be alive, and that's going to mess with things, and that's going to give them an out clause to bring other people back. And
they've got a couple of out clauses.
Yeah, they do.
They have a time machine, for Christ's sake, so they can go get her if they want to.
Yeah. Well, actually, like the Hulk explanation of the time machine, like that was kind of a neat scene where they're saying, "So Back to the Future lied to me," that kind of thing. Like the idea that time always moves forward, so no matter what, you can't ever go in the past. So like if you actually time travel, that becomes your future because and so you just create a whole new timeline and it doesn't actually change anything. I thought that was like a kind of a neat way to just do it so you couldn't have situations that really alter things. But of course, you still have the problem of like, okay, but Captain America was able to go back in time and hand off the Soul Stones, or hand off all the stones to make sure they went back to all the places they were supposed to be
after they've been taken out of their containers that they started in.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's just like you had to kind of play. Anytime you have any show that uses time travel as a key component to the plot, you have to play a little fast and loose with the explanations. And
I knew it wasn't going to all line up. There's too many people that will find plot holes to burn, but for the most part, it felt okay for me.
Captain America wielding the hammer was cool. I mean, cool. I was wondering if they were actually going to do it after they gave that hint at it in Avengers 2.
Mm-hmm.
They had and so because he's done it a few times in the comics. He's done the
comics. Yep, he's worth it.
So I was wondering if they're ever going to. Oh, hey, Rado, this is spoiler central. You're okay with it?
Hello.
Hey,
you're good with spoilers. We're talking Game of Thrones and Endgame.
We're discussing Endgame and Game of Thrones. So no predictions, just discussing. Okay. You said you don't like it when we do weird.
Well, Game of Thrones, we might get into talking about what's coming up.
Well, no, I'll log out at that point when you get predictions.
Cool. We'll stick with Endgame first then.
Yeah, as long as you're warned.
Yeah. And if you'd like to predict about the MCU, I'm totally down with that because whatever it is, that's years away. and maybe I'll have a chance of forgetting what you said. But I don't want to hear any predictions about next freaking week on Game of Thrones.
We will tell you before we switch so that you have a chance to opt out.
Well, I just jumped in. It sounds like you've already been going.
No, we just started a couple minutes ago.
No, we just started. I was just giving my personal recap of Avengers Endgame. I was a little disappointed that like a few of my characters that I really liked didn't get to do more. I was kind of annoyed that Doctor Strange didn't get to do more. That
is because Doctor Strange did a lot in the last one. It's 1 6-hour movie basically. Captain America did very little in Infinity War, but he did a lot here. So sorry, but look at me. I'm just being a dick and interrupting. I'll let you finish.
No, so but I mean overall, like I said, it was like I thought that the Captain America spin was cool. I thought that, and I liked the fact that he handed it was pretty neat moment when he handing it off to Falcon. I thought that was cool, and the traditional idea was that Bucky would get it, and I like the fact that they went away from that. My understanding is that they're going to have a TV show, like
yes, they are.
Disney Plus.
And it's weird. The show has been announced for quite a while as Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I bet you it changes now. They're just waiting.
Yeah, they might have just in the same way you never saw Thor in any trailer apparently for Endgame. Just to make sure.
And thank God for Thor. It's finally a hero I can look up to and relate to.
you mean the rest of us?
The big Thorbowski is
my wife hated it, but I loved every second of it.
Well, yeah. I think there was the one scene that they had where he held out and he grabbed the hammer or whatever, and and he told Captain Marvel, "Oh, I like her," because she didn't flinch or whatever.
But that was prior to the whole 5 years in the future thing.
That's true. That's true. So I like I said, I like the big Thorbowski. The fact that they actually gave him a Lebowski sweater in one scene, I thought was really cool.
And Iron Man even called him Lebowski, and when he walked by him, "Watch out, Lebowski," which is hilarious.
I like that. I like the fact that Tony Stark called the rocket Build-A-Bear. I mean, there was like little tiny moments like that. The Iron Man story arc worked perfectly. And it was a good summation for that. I don't know. I mean, it was like, but I don't know. It's weird. It wasn't. Was there anything really wrong with the movie? It wasn't like the best movie ever. I mean, like I still think
weird.
I didn't think it was the best movie either, but I think this was definitely in my top 5 in the MCU.
Oh yeah,
easily top 5, probably top 3. I don't think it was the best movie, but it certainly was the most emotional for me by far.
If you held a gun to my head, I would say Thor Ragnarok. I probably just enjoyed that movie more. I liked Captain America: Civil War more. That's probably the only two. I mean, other than that, this is probably number 3.
Let's see.
It was tough. Well, the moment Thor had with his mom was tough. That was like, oh, that was tough. It was tough to.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
And eat a salad, she said.
That was hilarious. My wife tells me that all the time. Again, Thor, the hero I can relate to. I know. I thought it was great. I thought it was funny in the right spots. It had you tearing up a little bit in the right spots. There was plenty of action, although I mean, even in the beginning, and then they kind of lulled for a little bit, and then, I mean, I was pretty much good from start to finish with this one. I rated this one, and my personal rating for this movie would be probably like a solid 8.5, maybe 8.7. I mean, it's damn near as good a superhero movie as you'll see.
I don't know what the damn near is. It is the best, especially if you view it. I mean, I don't know. I tend to view it as one long 6-hour movie, basically.
Yeah, maybe if you did it that way, because I love Infinity War, but I'm trying to view it on its own.
Yeah, it's to Lance's point. Doctor Strange didn't get much to do because he had a lot to do in Infinity War, and the exact same opposite for Cap. Poor Black Panther didn't get to do much in either.
Right.
So I'm sure there will still be some fans out there who are.
Well, he's got his own movie coming up soon anyway, so that they'll take care of that.
He's going to be okay. He's going to be
just fine.
Poor Luke Cage didn't get to do anything.
And Spider-Man didn't do a whole lot either, other than help assist at the end.
Every second Spider-Man was on screen was perfection. I mean, when you guys are saying, well, maybe it's my number 2, maybe it's my number 4. For me, since Spider-Man has always my whole life been my go-to favorite superhero. It's him being in here and being the quarterback for so long, and he had the longest, most exciting, most inventive sequence of quarterbacking. It was just absolutely amazing. Oh man, and I don't think this show gets near enough credit for being probably just about the best realistic, if you can say such a thing, representation of time travel in modern pop culture. Easily.
Well,
And knows full well that, I loved that it calls out Back to the Future as, this is all bullshit.
It even calls out Hot Tub Time
everything.
Machine, which I thought was hilarious.
Every standard trope for time travel, from Back to the Future to Doctor Who or whatever, is all bullshit, because it's not based on what actual science says that if time travel were to happen, what we saw in this movie is what the way it would really work. There would not be Polaroids that are slowly having characters disappear because timelines are being overwritten. Timelines don't get overwritten. Timelines split and fracture. And I loved how that was done, and I loved how they spent the time to try to explain. Yeah, every time travel movie you ever saw, and look, we just listed them all. We named them all in the movie. Is bullshit. And let's explain how it really works. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And,
one thing I want to say before I forget about it, because I was going to say it, the best thing about this movie for me was that I didn't go late Thursday night. I didn't go anytime on Friday. I went early Saturday morning with my entire family, and the crowd was extremely respectful and quiet. There was no uproarious cheering or yelling or anything like that. So you didn't miss any lines. You didn't miss any action.
I saw it twice perfect. For that reason, because I went Thursday night at 10:30 at night, and the crowd almost damn near did an ovation at the end of the movie when Doctor Strange started opening up portals and heroes started walking through. But then I went and saw it again Sunday morning at the first showing Sunday morning. It was quieter and there wasn't as much cheering.
Your experience is why I chose Monday morning in a relatively small and inconsequential theater at 10 a.m. Because there was maybe a dozen people there, and like Lance, they were pretty well behaved. They had one significant outburst, and I thought it was totally legitimate. Was when Cap picked up the hammer.
Oh God, yeah, that was definitely the biggest. That was probably the second biggest uproar. I think in my theater, when Black Panther walked through the first portal and looked at Cap and they looked back, there was a huge roar. And when Cap picked up Mjolnir, that was probably the second biggest roar. Spider-Man probably being the third biggest roar at the theater I was in on Thursday night.
The biggest internal pop that I probably had, which is weird for me. Everything was oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. But the one that I was yeah, that was awesome, was when Scott Lang becomes Giant Man and just punches out the Sky Worm.
That was pretty cool.
I was like, oh, that's awesome.
And here I thought you were going to say, that is America's ass.
That was funny though. I have to admit, the whole fighting Cap scene was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, when I could do this all day.
Hail Hydra was the best part.
Hail Hydra.
You knew it was coming.
Gotta be. I mean, we could easily make top tens of just this one movie. I mean, back to back, wall to wall. In infinity of not war, but of amazing moments that pay off 10 years. 10 years of movies.
The most
amazing the fact that we're going to have as Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to be
I know.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
The most amazing thing in that movie is Hawkeye's wife's cell phone that still has battery after 5 years and a service plan.
Yeah.
So that she can call him
as soon
as she got snapped back into existence.
Yeah. I mean, there's little tiny niggling things like that where you're just kind of
I'm going to try and justify that because, of course, the reality is when she popped back into existence, she was at the house out in the middle of, Montana or wherever the hell it was. And, of course, she didn't call from a cell phone. She called from the landline. And so the only question is, why was the landline still active? The easy answer is, of course, that even though Hawkeye was Ronin, he was still maintaining plausible deniability because, hey, he is probably still under house arrest. And so he probably still maintained that address and, used it as a justification. So
you're stretching.
Smart guy. Bring it.
Okay. Why would you stay on house arrest?
Apart.
Why would you stay on house arrest if half the world just poofed? You cut that shit off and nobody come looking for
it.
Because they think you were dead.
Bureaucrats got a bureaucrat.
Okay, so you actually came up with the landline plausibility. So there is a plausibility.
Yeah, I mean, there could be reasons why he would have kept that, why he would have kept the lights on at that house.
So why was Thanos able to take more of a beating from Thor than Thor would give him when he had all but one Infinity Stone and drove the axe into him?
Wait a minute, what was that?
So Thor, Captain America, and God, I can never remember the third hero who fought him at the end of the movie. Like when
Iron Man?
Iron Man. Thank you. Yeah. So
kind
those
of like
three,
the linchpin of the
those
entire
three are fighting
universe.
Thanos with 0 Infinity Stones and getting their ass kicked.
Mm-hmm.
But Thor almost single-handedly killed him when he had the gauntlet.
When he had the gauntlet,
in Infinity War.
The Infinity War, he
did single-handedly kill him earlier in the movie.
Thor, wait. Thor killed him because he was done. He'd snapped. Or no, that's right.
But at the end of Infinity War,
Thor. What is the particulars?
He had to use the Time Stone.
Doesn't he just hit him right off the bat with the hammer? I think he did. He just axed him. I mean, literally, he sucker punched him in Infinity War, if I recall correctly.
Well, Thanos took the full power of the Infinity Gauntlet at the axe, and the axe cut through it. Yet in the end of this movie, Infinity Gauntlet less Thanos whips the shit out of Thor with both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker and Iron Man and Cap all there at the same time.
A few reasons for that. One,
I have number one reason.
Literally over a decade younger. Which shouldn't matter too much since he's an Eternal and all that, but still, he has not been beaten down by an additional 10 years of whatever he's gone through, and I mean, you could easily argue that wearing the gauntlet for as long as he had, it is, it's a One Ring-esque in that it does drain you, but at the end of the day, he did take care of. Plus, in Infinity War, he had just barely gotten out of a fight where they literally drew blood. All that for a single drop of blood, Stark. But still, that's probably the first drop of blood he's had in a millennia. So, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that in Infinity War, one, he was totally sucker punched, didn't see it coming, and two, had just gotten out of probably the biggest fight he had had in 1,000 years. And taking on Iron Man and Doctor Strange and all the rest of it. So, but yeah, I don't even need that. I can just say sucker punch. If Thor could have sucker punched him in Endgame, then he probably would have gone down pretty quick. An axe to the chest will take you down pretty quick. And if you don't have an axe to the chest and you're an Eternal, you'll probably do pretty well. Although I thought that was so cool. That no two ways about it. Captain Marvel in her current iteration is stronger than him because the only way he could beat her was to sucker punch her. I mean, she totally had him, and I love that. Literally pull. I don't know which stone it was, the Power Stone out, use it in the second. That was a really clever move.
Did you like that Scarlet Witch was able to basically take Thanos down if it wasn't for him bombarding the entire planet? Because they made her extremely powerful in this one. Which she wasn't nearly that powerful in Infinity Wars. Because if she was that powerful in Infinity Wars, she would have mopped the floor with him.
But he had the
powerful in Infinity War. She took out an entire big superstructure thing when she brought it down on evil lady, whatever her name was, Proxima Midnight or whatever. No, I think if you go point for point, he was fairly consistent. The reality is he is unstoppable. And yeah, you can knock him down, but he keeps getting back up. It doesn't matter how much lightning, how much you crush him. He will keep coming back. And because he beat everybody, including Captain Marvel in this movie, the same as he did last time. And the only thing that beat him was I Am Iron Man, which was amazingly awesome too. Paying off the 10-year. I mean, those were literally his last words, which is amazing to me. The way his death was handled, and sure, you have to give the audience what they want. They want to see Peter and Tony, and that's fine. But that's not what Tony really needed. Tony needed Pepper, and she was there, and he didn't say anything. She just said, "It's okay, you can let go," because that's been his whole thing, which he talked about a little bit. Protection. Put arm around the world. I love those callbacks. I love those callbacks to Whedon. Everybody just pisses all over Age of Ultron. But I love how this movie, it probably more callbacks to Age of Ultron and freaking Thor the Dark World, the one that everybody loves to beat on. And yet, I mean, that's the one that just gives all this. I loved everything about it. Oh my God, I was so happy. So happy.
I do believe he barely mumbled Pepper when she sat down.
Oh, did he? Yeah. Oh, I've only seen it the once. I'd have to go back and look. But well, and you know what? And quite frankly, that's cool. I mean, what was it? Was he trying to get back up?
No.
Did he acknowledge her, or
no? He saw her and like she kneeled down in front of him. And
I got to go download the subtitles. Endgame subtitles. So thank you, video pirates out there who have already transcribed the subtitles. Subscene, Avengers Endgame, subtitles. Here we go. This will only take a moment, and I will get to the bottom of that.
Oh, thank gosh.
So why did they just use the gauntlet to freeze Thanos and then bury an axe in his head instead of having to use the super snap power?
Yeah.
And die.
I did wonder that too when he had the gauntlet instead of.
Yeah, you got the gauntlet that Thanos used it to kill Loki. Why not just use the same thing on Thanos?
Well, because Tony Stark was about to die because it was going to kill him. He had never worn it before. And I think the first thing that popped in his head was, right, let's just, turnabout is fair play, snap them all out of existence the same way he did. I mean, I think it would be the natural first inclination anybody would have, because as you literally lay dying, you're not going to be able to think about really clever, smart, hyper-efficient uses of your new resource, would be my assumption. But that's just me.
He's Tony Stark.
I'm an apologist fanboy for everything.
He figured out time travel.
Yes, he did. Yep. So what did you do today? Oh, I'm reading about composting. Oh, what's new with composting? Oh, by the way. Yeah. Fantastic.
I really want to take PIM particles and supersize Professor Hulk, because that would be the unstoppable beast of the universe.
Let's see. Here we go. SRT. DTT.
Yep.
Open and open.
Otherwise, I liked everything. I liked everything in the movie. I think it's a solid movie. I would have probably preferred it if Cap had passed on to Bucky, because I thought Bucky would make a better Captain America, only because he actually has super serum. So I'm a little worried that this Captain America is going to be a little underpowered for what.
But
Cap
Falcon's already been Captain America in history.
No, in the comics, I understand, right. But they're
tapping into stories that they've got an existing base.
Yeah,
and Bucky, to be honest, is boring as shit.
Oh, I don't disagree that. I just wonder how he's going to be Cap without the wings, because his only power was the wings, and you're taking it away.
Why? He'll keep the wings.
He
kept the wings when he became Captain America in the comics.
Yeah,
well, maybe, I guess.
Why would he stop flying?
Yeah.
I mean, the question is always, why doesn't Tony make a freaking suit of armor for everybody? He's such a dick.
Yeah. He damn near had, so. But really, those little things are the only bitches I have about that movie.
Yeah,
which is pretty good for me, because overall, it was a 3-hour movie that felt like an hour and a half versus the other thing we'll be talking about later.
Yes.
But yeah, I dug it. I thought it was awesome.
There was a yin and yang to this weekend, and this was the good side of it.
The thing is, I even like the Lebowski references, and I've never seen The Big Lebowski.
You're missing out if you haven't watched The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, Aldi said I should go watch it.
It's solid. Like I said, I think this movie from top to bottom was probably their best work as far as really just tying up so many different loose ends from the last 10 years and presenting it in a respectful way that was just there was nothing. I mean, it's all nitpicky. Any negative I have is nitpicky. I mean, this is probably, this will definitely be the best-selling movie, superhero movie of all time by far.
It's already the best-selling opening movie.
Yeah, this one's gonna crush Avatar. This one's gonna outdo any DVD and Blu-ray sales. This one is gonna be
opening weekend $350 million, which is $100 million ahead of second place.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge, right?
Yeah.
I admire the way they managed to still have humor in a story that's really everything's gone
so
to
dark.
hell.
Yeah,
right?
It's very dark.
And like Professor Hulk in New York, walk around Hulk's meth. Oh yeah.
Well, basically, Professor Hulk is the start of. It was 3 movies, or it was certainly 3 episodes of a TV show. The first episode was the dark, super depressing. Look, we don't pick up our garbage anymore. world. And then Professor Hulk is what starts the second episode, which is the time heist episode. And the third episode is
Just
the Winterfell battle, basically. And yes, you're right.
Better,
Tony's final words were, hey, Pep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, oh, God. So, it's good. Oh, fuck.
Oh, it's good to see emotion from something that you care about.
Right there in the feels, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, they aren't real people, just so you know. I mean,
no, but they bring out real emotions. I was very emotional when Black Widow passed away. I was very emotional when Tony Stark died. They were moments in that movie that my wife looked at me and just like, you're such a baby. You know what I mean? And you know what? I'm fine with that. Like I said, I got emotion. I got laughter. I got moments I wanted to cheer. That movie did about every emotional swing you can do, which I did not get from the other big release this weekend.
For a half a moment, I thought they were going to go Secret Wars issue 4 and show the Hulk. Yeah, do the mountain like
they kind of did. They kind of did.
Yeah, for a half a moment I thought that's the way they were going to roll with that.
Yeah, I'm certain that was a conscious decision. That was a conscious callback that they were doing specifically. But of course, they didn't actually have a genuine mountain to drop on him.
No. But yeah, I mean, it was just like, you know, overall, I mean, there were some scenes that just kind of were like, they didn't hit perfectly for me. But I mean, I know that in a lot of ways, like there was a lot of things that they got the vast majority, the vast majority of the movie right. You know, they didn't screw anything up. They did the right amount of fan service. They did the they got the things taken care of and processed, and I think they did, like I said, they did the right thing. They did a good job. They did a good job, as
Agreed.
They say.
I would see it again after seeing it twice in the last 3 days. I would go see it again in a heartbeat. It was that good.
And again, like, it's like, why you only had Nick Fury show up at the very end, but I guess he got his big moment in the Captain
Marvel. Yeah, he did a lot of time in Captain Marvel.
He had a lot of time there.
Did you have any more thoughts about my Nick Fury observation with Captain Marvel, Lance?
Well, what do you mean?
The thing that I mentioned to you a few weeks ago, and I think your reply was, really? Did that really happen? And apparently you've forgotten about it now?
Yeah, I forget all kinds of things. What's going on?
All right. Has everybody seen Captain Marvel?
Yep.
Okay. In Captain Marvel, when she is trying to figure out who he is, or tell me something about yourself, he said, words to the effect of, I will never eat a cross-cut peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something like that.
But there's the one thing where he eats it or something like that, right?
He specifically said, I will never, under any circumstances, I'll die before I eat a cross-cut sandwich. In Avengers Age of Ultron, he eats a cross-cut sandwich. It's very specifically shown that he does that thing that he said he would never do, which, of course, means in Avengers Age of Ultron, Nick Fury is a Skrull.
Well, maybe. I mean, what does it matter?
It's because that's awesome if it's the case. And it doesn't have to be. It could just be a joke, or it could be a misdirect or something like that. But it goes a long way towards, hey, wasn't he dead? Why is he not dead now? Type stuff. And it also goes a long way towards, wow, you're really a totally different guy in the Captain Marvel movies as opposed to the later MCU movies. It's almost like you're a different person. If a Skrull was responsible for bringing the Avengers together, and people wonder, well, what's going to be the next? Where do we go from here? Because of course they do have what phase are they in now? Phase 7, phase 8, whatever.
4.
Yeah, phase 4. That could be a pretty significant thing that will come in the future. I would hope, because it's awesome. But apparently I'm the only one who thinks so. I thought it was very cool.
I have a question. I've forgotten something from this movie. How did Thanos time travel?
Thanos time traveled because present day Nebula, good Nebula, was about to jump forward, but she got her head scrambled because of the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And so she didn't, and they caught her, they caught her suit, and they caught her pin particles.
But how did they know how to do it?
Well, they basically figured it out from her suit. They have a suit. They have the pin particles.
I mean, they are very advanced.
Evil Nebula in the suit. They use the pin particles to shrink the ship down to nothing, and then they jump forward. They hit the return to home button.
Okay, there you go. That's what I said there. Like, how did he?
It was very quick. It was very quick. There's a very brief shot where you see, I think it was Evil Nebula handing the pin particle bottle to Thanos and him looking at it and saying, which implies then they probably spent 2 weeks, figuring out the science of it so they could do the thing, but we just skip over that.
Heck, they could have spent 2 years because it's going to jump them to the exact moment in time anyway, so it won't matter.
Yep. So yeah, that's how that worked. And I don't know. Does anybody want to argue about time travel?
Nah. Waste of time.
No. Okay.
Now, time travel is what it is. Everyone's got their opinion on it. It's a fruitless argument because it's not real. But
right. Yeah, but my point being that this was a much better handling of time travel than pretty much any other pop culture thing.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I like the way they handled it.
Except
I like
Cap
it a lot better
screwed everything up.
What's that?
Cap screwed everything up.
No, that's the thing. He didn't. Here's what happens. Cap does his Return the Stones mission and then goes back to the 40s and finally has his dance at the Stork Club. The act of doing that has created an alternate timeline.
Right.
You might as well call it the Stork timeline. Same way we have the Kelvin verse in Star Trek now. In the Stork timeline, Cap basically revealed that Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. Cap rescued Bucky from Hydra imprisonment and all that. Cap and Peggy Carter basically, Cap became the first and only Avenger in that timeline because he fucking fixed everything because he knew everything that was going to happen. And eventually, cut to 80 years later, Peggy eventually dies of old age, and Cap says, "Okay, it's time for me to go back home now." Home being the Prime timeline. And he still had his suit. He still had his Pym particles. Surely, if nothing else, at some point he told Hank Pym where he's really from, and he ensured that Hank Pym and Howard Stark didn't have the schism, and actually ensured that both of them just worked towards the betterment of humanity. That universe, the Storkverse timeline, has got to be just about perfection. And and so she eventually dies. He goes back home so he can give closure and hand over the shield to Falcon. Okay. And give them closure because even though he lived there for 60 years, they were always still his family. His home was the Prime timeline. So he just jumped back over. Because there is no destruction of timeline. There is no overriding of timeline. There's just different universes. What's her name? Tilda Swinton, the wisdom lady. She comes around and says, look, if you take this, all that's going to happen is I'm now going to be on a different timeline. She didn't care because from her perspective, it was the only timeline. She knows, you're going to make a branch here. The only thing I care is you're not going to bring me back the goddamn eye so I can protect my new timeline that you just created. There is no such thing as a grandfather paradox. It fundamentally doesn't happen because you just create more and more alternate universes where everything plays out exactly like we saw.
I wonder what he did with Mjolnir.
Probably left it back in Asgard when he returned the stone.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I was wondering. There's a Mjolnir running around out there somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Where's the Mjolnir?
And where did Loki go?
Well,
presumably Loki went to his new Disney Plus streaming TV series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
But he created another branch, right?
Yeah.
When he swished off with the Tesseract.
Yeah. Yep. I really do wonder if his show is going to be Loki doing Doctor Who style, just jumping around and screwing with stuff and being the god of mischief with a Tesseract and going wherever he wants.
And the Guardians and Thor can chase him while they're looking for Gamora.
Yep. Yeah.
Because they're all alive out there in the universe now.
Yeah. Yep. It's all good times.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. And what? So you didn't like Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh.
Well, wait.
Okay,
Does anybody have anything left that you needed to?
No. Endgame was fantastic. It was a marvel of modern movie making. It was fantastic.
A marvel of modern. I see what you did there.
I got a few nitpicks that I already said, and other than that, I thought it was a fantastic movie. Top 3 Marvel movie of all time. Probably going to go down as one of the highest grossing movies of all time, and worth it, and absolutely worth it. So, nothing else to say that's worth anything.
It was great. I loved it more than Last Jedi. All right. So I'm gonna open up Game of Thrones talk and just so once again, if you're watching us live or if you're not watching us live, we're gonna be talking about all of the Game of Thrones episodes so far in season 8, but obviously the big one is the most recent one, because of just obviously everything that happened in that particular episode. So
by the way, I have just typed into the chat for folks who are watching that we are switching away from Endgame and over to Game of Thrones. So no more Endgame. So
there are a few people
because there were people who were muting us
because they hadn't seen Endgame yet. So we definitely don't jump back. We stay on Thrones now.
Right.
Yeah. So okay. So I'm going to open up like here are my I don't know how many of these are, but I'm going to say things I liked and then things I didn't like, and then you guys can respond. I thought that as a whole for a battle, like a battle episode, because like they've had things before. Well, this is going to be a battle episode. This one didn't come close to Battle of the Bastards, which was like the best battle episode they've done. This one had moments of like coolness, but because of the setting, because of the darkness, because of just the way that they portrayed it, and probably the way they had to portray it to get the story, it didn't feel like a battle episode. It felt like, okay, we're gonna have a lot of like weird, crazy stuff going on that you can't really tell exactly what's happening, and then we're gonna have like a scene out of a Resident Evil movie, basically, as somebody's like racing around and trying to hide. But once again, to their credit, it was still good. I still enjoyed it. As far as the people that we no longer have with us, I thought they played it really, really safe, and which is not necessarily a bad thing. Just because Game of Thrones is known for its brutal, I would have liked one that we weren't expecting. And there's a couple things here. There's two things that I was like, in retrospect, when I looked back at the episode, I was like, oh, that was really good. And like at the time I was like, that really annoyed me. And then as I look back at it, I was like, oh, and I was so the fact that they literally, that conversation that Melisandre has with Arya actually happened, where she said, there's a darkness in you. I see you closing many eyes. And she says, and blue ones. And it's a single moment that like nobody remembered. And I thought it was super cool that this show has been going on for so long and so ridiculously, like there's 8 billion YouTubers out there that make their hay dissecting these episodes and ripping them apart, looking for little hints. I didn't see one video that called back to that moment at that time.
Prior to the episode, you mean?
Prior to this episode, nobody caught that hint about I see you closing brown eyes, I see you closing green eyes, and Cersei's green eyes, by the way.
And so doesn't Daenerys also have green eyes?
I don't know about that. I see you closing blue eyes, and then of course in this episode, she says it very specifically, like, and I see you closing blue eyes. Okay, but here's the deal. She says that, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to kill a White Walker. That's what I said. I didn't think at that moment, oh my gosh, she's going to kill the Night King. What I thought was, and then the thing is, they did it, and they even actually in the callback to the episode, they said they actually did this. We wanted to have that moment, we wanted it to be there, but then we immediately wanted to cut away and force feed you more stuff so you'd forget about the fact that Arya left that room. And I did. I totally forgot about it. I'll say this. For a half a second, I thought they were going to kill Arya. When Arya jumped out and he turned around and grabbed her out of the air, I was like, "Oh my god!"
They were ready to do that.
I was like, "Oh shit! They're gonna kill Arya." I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And of course, she doesn't. So, I think it. But here's, and I'm gonna let somebody else talk here, and I'll respond with it. But here's my biggest, most huge problem I had with the show. It has nothing to do with that they didn't kill somebody important. Who cares? They're gonna die anyway. The episode is that at the point where so here, this is a weird comparison, but if you watch poker on television and the way that they actually before they showed it live, they would show World Series of Poker in 1 hour tidbits, right? And so it'd be like, oh, and here comes a big dramatic hand between this person and that person. The thing was, when you watch poker and when you looked at the time and you realized that the hour was almost up, you realized, oh, that guy is going to lose. He's going to get knocked out. I mean, you just knew that the hand was going to turn out in a way that because of the fact that was the time constraint of what was going on. So now you have the same thing kind of going on with this, where I'm watching this and I'm like, I don't know where they're going. Are they going to defeat the Night King? Is the Night King going to leave? Is he going to go? I'm like, what's going on? And then when the Night King's like walking away, which I'll say this one other minor tidbit, it's really tough to have him be the bad guy when he doesn't talk at all. The best you get out of him is a smirk. That's the best you got out of him the entire time. But so the thing is that I'm like, and I watch him, and okay, here comes John, who seems like he was right next to him at first, but then of course he's Sir Lancelot in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, constantly running up the hill over and over again. He can't catch up. He's running through a rice paddy. He can't catch up to him. And of course he does the whole thing. He brings the dead back to life. And then they show all the dead coming back to life. And at that moment, because I couldn't just watch the episode, I realized there's 15 minutes left. The Night King has to die. Because if the Night King doesn't die, everybody in Winterfell is dead. I mean, every single person in Winterfell is dead, because that's the only way they're going to pull off a win, is if they somehow kill off the Night King. And all of a sudden, then it was, how is the Night King going to die? And I was like, how is Bran going to kill him? And I'll say this, and one other thing I had a problem with, but then I realized it wasn't a problem. I wasn't paying attention. When Theon and Bran are talking, and Bran says, "I have to go for a while," and then he wargs into the crows, I was like, well, what the fuck is he doing? Is he actually going to go do something, help, or what's happening here? And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, he went and he flew over the Night King basically to alert him to the fact that that's where he was, to draw him out and to make him come to the whole thing. And the really cool thing about this is that the entire time, that's how powerful the Three-Eyed Raven is, or Bran is that as badass as the Night King is or was, Bran had his number the entire time. Yep. Like he and if you go back and watch the episode again, you look, and when he looks up, he's not even looking at the Night King. He's looking beyond him. He's looking to the point where Arya is coming from. And it's just like, you're like, oh my gosh, that's wow. And it was like, and that was like this moment where it was like, oh, here's this bad guy that you've been like basically had forever, and now he's gone. And that was the one feeling I had after the episode. Was like, I feel like kind of like weirdly unsatisfied because he's gone. It's like you don't have the threat of the dead anymore. It's just over. And I was like,
yeah, but obviously you have the threat of Cersei, which is the even bigger threat because they've lost everyone.
Except for the two dragons.
Yeah. There's that. Well, and she's got big dragon killing catapults that they've been showing for years as well. And Bronn almost took a dragon down 2 seasons ago.
And if you look, the one dragon is hurt. There's the one scene in the upcoming episode where you see the two dragons flying. Oh, sorry, I'm shutting up.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you turn off the previews before it shows for the next week?
Oh, I never watch previews. Never
okay.
Watch
previews. I was going to ask that before we mentioned that.
Yeah, okay, and then
I don't want to stifle your guys' urge to talk about that stuff.
No. I apologize.
We'll put a pin in that.
So one thing very interesting, I certainly agree with the first observation you made about, it's impossible that you can't compare this to Battle of the Bastards. Both episodes were directed by the same dude.
Yep, they were. And he also did Hard Home, I believe, too.
Yeah. And I believe he's doing one more, which you got to assume is going to be some big upcoming battle in King's Landing, one would have to assume. It's interesting. I kind of got the impression that the problem was they needed to have, and they probably wrote and filmed another half hour of battle to stitch everything together. Because surely the biggest weird disconnect is, okay, yeah, Arya kicks so much ass. Look at her go. She's unstoppable. She's inspiring her. Oh, and now she bumped her head, and so she's running around like a scared little girl.
Mm-hmm.
What? And it was I did watch the the 10-minute afterward behind the scene thing, and they said yes, she basically had a concussion. And yeah, she was completely discombobulated, and it took the woman in red reminding her of who she is before she could basically get her wits back. I'm like, okay, I totally buy that. But they did not have apparently the bandwidth to actually tell that story visually. At least it didn't come across to me because, as you said, all of a sudden we went from Battle of the Bastards to a Resident Evil episode. And that was I thought, okay, that's cool because, I mean, yeah, you can only have so much just endless waves of undead.
It felt disconnected to me, though. It took me out of it. There was too many times when it jumped, when it didn't feel like it was the right time. And the fact that I keep hearing people using, well, they didn't have the bandwidth or budget, I call bullshit, because this series has made so much money. And if you're only going to do 6 episodes, you should put everything into it. And to cheap out or cut these short for whatever reason, I don't buy it.
They are cheaping out because the show, for the first time, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to not be on film anymore. It seems to be they're shooting it digitally now.
And they can tell because it looks very horrible.
Noticeable. It's nowhere near as bad as, it doesn't have the super bad soap opera effect, but it does not look as good.
The CG looks horrible. The first 2 episodes, the CG was crap, and this episode was.
How does this show make money other than through Blu-ray sales and merchandising, though?
Merchandising is huge.
There's no advertisement, right?
Yeah.
Right, you're not got ticket sales like you do a movie.
But go into any store and tell me you can't find Game of Thrones merchandise somewhere. They're making billions of dollars off of this.
But you're getting very little pieces of that money. You're getting the licensing part. But
I mean that merchandising stuff is what made George Lucas a billionaire.
Yeah,
it did,
and that was a '70s billionaire, no less.
But I mean, it sold a lot more crap.
Money is for the next 3 months, HBO is going to have quintuple the amount of HBO Go subscribers.
Right. Or regular subscribers until
and a portion of them will just keep the subscription after the season is over.
Because they'll forget to cancel.
Still got to pay for all their other content. They're not making one movie. They're using funds from this to fund their future and other things. So they do have a budget to worry about because they're having to pay the actors a lot of money now, etc. So there is some element, and they have to do so much CGI that it's got to be hugely expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I like the episode a lot, and any fault it had was more than made up for by the final moment that Lance talked about. The brief whisper of a breeze that went by some White Walker, and then there she is flying through the air. And so it's funny. For most of the episode, I was on the couch, with the feet up on the ottoman. But I realized when I got there, I'm like this now. I'm like this for like the last 15 minutes of that episode. And when she flew through the air, it is stupid for me to admit this. I literally flew across the room towards the TV. When he grabbed her, I just sprung off of my couch and just came right up like this. And I thought the last move. So close, I couldn't see my entire screen. I was so into that moment in a way that I cannot think of anything else really kind of getting me into it.
At what point did Jen tell you to sit down?
Oh, Jen doesn't watch Game of Thrones. She quit after the 2nd or the 3rd season.
Oh, okay.
Just is too dark for her. Too much.
Well, and then the 2 things. The move was the exact same one she used against Brienne when they were dueling. And she stabbed him in the exact same spot that he was originally stabbed, so he became the Night King.
Yep, and apparently that was all part of Bran's plan too, because he had to be next to a weirding tree or whatever they're called, like he was when he was created. So yeah, Bran had his number right from the get-go.
Which is really cool when you think about it. I mean, when you just like kind of just consider just like how badass the Three-Eyed Raven is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's the Three-Eyed Raven to me is, I'm not going to talk about Endgame, but I'll talk about Infinity War. He's Doctor Strange, right? He's looked through all the possibilities, and he knows this is what has to work. Yeah. And so he's allowing what has to happen to win to work. That's what the Three-Eyed Raven's doing, because he basically does what Doc Strange did. He can see all the possibilities because he can go back and forward in time and look at things.
Yeah.
So he's pulled that. I found that the battle scenes for me were just too long. I actually felt myself picking up my phone to see what time it is. Like, how much more of this just watching zombies run and get chopped and chop jabronis over and over is this going to be? Give me to some story. That's my biggest beef, my only beef.
Yeah,
not my only beef,
agree.
but my biggest.
I agree, but I mean, I feel that way in every Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings film as well.
I do too.
Which is why Fellowship is the only truly, transcendent film, because it doesn't do any of that stuff. It isn't 50% or 80% endless waves of guys crashing against other things.
But you get chills. You get chills when the Riders of Rohan
come down and save at the end of the Two Towers.
This I don't know. I suppose so. It's been so long since I've seen it originally. I certainly now, if I watch it, it's just fatigue, and none of it can hold a candle to Boromir's last stand.
Ride to ruin. Ride now.
This episode, this battle scene that's culminated over the last 3 years of them building up the winter is coming. Felt so lackluster and boring to me that I don't even care about the rest of the season.
Oh, no,
I'm not kidding. I am so disconnected from this show after watching that 90-minute snorefest that I could care, because I know exactly what's going to happen now. They're gonna concoct.
Don't talk about future.
Right. All right.
I got more past bitching to do about this episode.
But this episode, in my eyes, this episode is maybe a 5 at best. I would never watch it again, and I thought it was boring. For 90% of it.
I'll say this: how cool is it? And I think this is super cool. So I'm just going to say it right there. How cool is it that basically the investment, the bets, the whatever that were put into Beric Dondarrion and Melisandre, like, they existed for one purpose and one purpose only, to defeat the Night. Like, literally, those two don't care one way or the other who sits in the Iron Throne. It doesn't matter at all.
You mean Eye Patch guy, right?
Yeah, Beric Dondarrion.
The sole purpose he kept getting brought back to life was so he could save Arya.
Save Arya. That was the only reason that he came back to life over and over again, because he was destined to be there to save Arya, and so she'd be there. And think about that for a second. Melisandre, love or hate her or whatever, all the horrible things that she did, and the things that she did, and Beric Dondarrion wasn't always perfect either, but they both they don't care who sits on the Iron Throne. Doesn't matter to them at all. Their entire purpose was to get there to that point so they could prevent the dead from destroying Westeros, and that was their entire purpose. And it was like, and you realize that the investment that the story had at that moment, and then paying off years later, is ridiculous. You won't ever have that happen in a TV show again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like the first 7 seasons of this series captivated me and made me want to come back for more. I have not been enthralled with any episode this season so far. I feel like since they've gotten past the books, the story and the plots and all of it. I mean, there's a few payoffs, sure, but I would not put any of the first 3 episodes of this season above anything I've seen previously.
The previous episode, after it was over, and it was, because it was an entire episode of everybody just sitting around talking, my thought was I would watch an entire season of this. I would watch an entire season devoted to them preparing for this ultimate confrontation.
I feel like a battle of this magnitude crammed into one episode is just, it didn't do it justice. This should have been a couple episodes of really connecting everything better, because it just felt so discombobulated that I never got into it. And I feel like they're cramming a 12 episode season into 6 episodes, and it's going to suffer because of it. They've got 3 episodes to wrap this whole thing up.
Well, but which is effectively 6 episodes, because they're all 90 minutes long.
They're not. The next one's 10 minutes shorter than this one. The last one's only 60 minutes. So they're not.
Well, but
we got 2 episodes that were like 90 minutes.
That's the final act. I mean, everything's come to this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm disappointed up till now, and I'm hope that I'm pleasantly surprised. But right now, after this,
I thought I heard that. I'm not to interrupt you. I thought I heard that all of the last episodes were an hour and a half long.
Yeah, according to what HBO posted on their thing, where people were complaining that the first episode was 58 minutes or 50 minutes, and they showed all 6 episodes air times, and the last one was 60 minutes on the dot. The one before that was like 82 minutes. The one before that was like 90 minutes, and then this one was like 83 minutes or whatever. So unless were incorrect, or that was someone's fabricated post, it was supposedly the last episode is only 60
I am
minutes.
looking. The Google.
I am Googling as well. Let's
yes,
see.
While you're Googling, I got bits to pick.
82, 78, 80, and 80.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully I'm wrong then, because what
you are wrong. We just proved it.
Yeah, everything on the internet's correct, Lance.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Well, I have a website that said The Last Jedi sucked, so I guess that's true. You know.
There you go. Yeah, you can't.
In your world, that is true. And just like in my world, this episode of Game of Thrones sucked.
Yeah. Like I said, any misstep is completely forgiven just because of the absolutely insanely awesome final moment. For me, that was so incredible.
Yeah, I find that awesome.
It engendered such a physical response to me in a way that
I would have
anything else that did.
I would have probably enjoyed it more had John killed the Night King.
I'd like it.
I think Arya is going to be the Superman of this this story.
Done her bit.
And
her whole job was to be the Lord of Light, and she was destined. And if I actually of course, I was like, okay, so she's Azor Ahai because she's the one who prevented the permanent night to happen. So I actually looked and I found a thing where they pointed to in the books and in the show, like all of these moments and all of these things that she does fit into being the Lord of Light, the prince that was promised, and so it works, and it works really well, and it was well done, and I'll admit for like a half second I was like, really, this 18-year-old girl? But then I was just like, no, because that's not what John is supposed to do, and I'm not going to talk about what John is supposed to do because I'm not going to go forward from here. Yeah. But this was not John's thing. John's thing is it has to do with the Iron Throne.
And stuff he's got to deal with.
Yeah.
I will say, I am bummed. I so hard wished that it could have been Theon, who that he.
I would have really liked that too as his big redemption arc.
Yeah, that would have been amazing. I have no complaints about how it happened. It is perfect.
Theon had to die to redeem himself.
Of everything,
right? And he did. But him
dying,
killing the Night King would have been pretty cool ending to that episode, and a better one in my eyes.
No, it's good because he sacrificed himself without being the ultimate hero. But he still sacrificed.
It was great. I mean, I was happy for him that he was given forgiveness from Bran. That he's good.
Exactly.
And you had the 2 chill moments. You had the one moment where he goes, "Every single decision you've made has led you to this point, home." And basically saying you're my brother. You're home. This is where you always should have been. And then the other thing is just it's like you're a good man, Theo. Thank you. And it just and it was like he got his moment, and I'm
very satisfied with that. But I had hoped going in as soon as announced, I'll stand. Me and
I think at that point everyone knew he was dead because that's going to be the.
That was my assumption too. That's everybody's assumption. Oh yeah, he's literally a suicide mission, and it would have been amazing. But that said, I cannot complain. Seeing it, I mean. Arya getting revved back up by the what do we say to the God of Death, the Lord of Death? Not today.
Not today. That was a great callback to Cyril Farrell.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I can finally stop listening to people saying that he's still alive. No, he's not. He's not alive anymore.
Yeah.
He's not gonna spring from the shadows in the last episode. Just
yeah, but he does live on, obviously.
Richard managed to explain how something worked in a different show for me, so he's got to explain this one for me. Why doesn't the dragon glass work worth the shit in this show?
Yeah,
in this episode
is it effectively functions for White Walkers, right? I mean, it makes them blow up real good.
It makes them blow up real good, but it's supposed to kill the whites, right? Because that's what they use to kill the whites.
And it was. Didn't you see?
They crawled through.
Whites just died.
They crawled all over the traps. They would get cut,
Covered
and nothing would happen instead of them dying. Whites don't have vital organs to hit the kill. Therefore, the dragon glass has to be killing them with magic. So if you cut them with the dragon glass, they should die.
My understanding,
there are plenty of scenes showing them getting stabbed and still attacking and fighting. Yeah, it didn't make sense to me.
Yes, that was bizarre to me because they did
disintegrate because he got dragon glass directly into his brain when it boils right down to it. And I guess zombies can have flesh wounds.
Yeah.
Just a flesh wound.
But they can't because they have no vital organs. So if that can kill them at all, it's got to be magic.
Well, no, but I think the idea is that that the wounds. Okay, so like when the whites first showed up and like John was fighting them or whatever, and then saving Mormont at the wall, like he was fighting them and he was hacking them and they were falling down, but they were getting back up. I think it's more of the thing where if you hack them with dragon glass, they don't get back up. You still have to hack them. You still have to attack them.
Exactly. They have to.
But they killed the white at King's Landing by just stabbing.
But that's true because it is like a Vorpal weapon to like a White Walker. I mean, Sam showed that.
Yeah, the White Walkers will explode. But I mean, you could stab me with a knife and I could keep on going on. And a white could be stabbed with a dragon glass blade and keep going on. And you have to, cut them down as much as you'd have to cut down anybody with a regular blade because they don't explode.
It's a bit inconsistent with how it had been in the past, but
is it? I don't remember. They've never exploded. I mean,
not that they exploded, that they kept going after they were hit with it. Because they've always died when they've been stuck with it before.
I'm trying to remember, how did they kill the one white they brought to show Cersei?
That's what I just said. They just stabbed it and it died.
Yeah,
they stabbed it.
The dragon put it on fire.
But where did they stab it?
They just stabbed it in the side.
But remember, it was still crawling forward. Like the part of his body was still trying to move forward to attack.
Right, and then they stabbed it into the grass and it stopped moving.
Yeah, and I think in the skull though. I mean, I have to go back to the scene, but I think they stabbed it in the skull. I am going
to YouTube now.
I did call the crypts though. Nailed that one. I knew that was going to happen. It's amazing how dead, decrepit, 100-year-old corpses can punch.
It's amazing how things that have no connective tissue left would still be able to be animated. I mean,
and they punched through their crypts, which some of them were encased in stone. Yeah. That was.
I think it would have been funny if Headless Ned came out. That would have been a lot. But he was supposedly just.
To the question of the white killed in front of Cersei, John literally picks him up and drives his sword into what would be its heart, and then it dies.
And that's Valyrian steel.
Slicing them, giving them cuts, does not do it.
But again, no vital organs.
They have to be They have to be properly impaled.
So I don't know.
And I mean, I will give you that the giant. I mean, basically, just to give her moment. I mean, I don't think anything else has been dusted like that.
Yeah,
right?
they gave. When I'll say this, when they killed Lyanna, which I was like, wow, they killed Lyanna. I was like, I thought I was like, oh my gosh, maybe Jorah lives. I was like, and then he would take over House Mormont because he's literally the last Mormont.
Yeah.
And then of course, and he had a completely fitting.
Oh yeah!
That's the way he was supposed to go.
On perfect.
And the last thing he says, he says, Khaleesi, I'm hurt. That's what he says, and he falls. That's like the last thing he says. And I will say this: that was like kind of I didn't get teared up or anything, but I was definitely like a little bit choked up when like she's like literally like bawling her eyes out. and the dragon came and like curled up next to her, like basically like a big cat, like trying to like comfort her. I was just like, and then that was like one of those scenes too where you like, like she's had Jorah by her side since we've seen her,
right?
And been basically like her confidant, like best friend, most loyal soldier of all time. Like, and then he fell.
Well, she would be nowhere without him, right?
Yeah. Which was weird, because it's just like you haven't really seen her really care about anybody, really, or shown that she cares anyway.
I was disappointed that the Dothraki went out like a bunch of chumps instantly. I was like, really? That quick?
Well, I mean, obviously that was done to underscore the stakes. I mean, that was, them playing with, things are going really well. The Dothraki are going to do what they do. They've got flaming swords. This is going to, oh dear. And, the way it's presented, because it's not about them. It's about Dany watching them die and knowing it's her responsibility because she is their leader and how she is failing them, which is why, I mean, their whole death was to basically set up why she completely ignores the plan and fucks everything up. Because they were just supposed to wait on their dragons and get the drop on the Night King and bing bong, everything's done. But she says, nope, I got to go in. And that's what that's what, but
she did get the drop on the Night King and blasted him with Dragonfire, and it didn't even phase him.
Yep. Well, I don't imagine they knew that going in. They probably figured that was going to work out pretty well. And I think we all expected it to. But I thought that was actually really cool. Just the way it was presented, just basically seeing those lights flicker out. I thought that was very, very cool. Very visually engaging.
In that same scene, why the hell was Ghost charging in there? What the hell was he supposed to be doing?
I will say, I mean, no, I can't say anything without prognosticating, so I'm not going to say
don't prognosticate, but still, why would you even send the dog into the wall
that was
of
dumb.
the dead? Shouldn't the dog stay home to guard Bran?
Yep.
I'm going to say this. I'll say this. Dog charging into battle gives dog plot armor. I'm just going to give you, and I'll just say that. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think for whatever reason, Ghost will be around for a while, and if he's guarding Bran, he dies. If he's on the walls, he dies.
Yes, you're right. I mean,
he had to go run away.
Die, and the first rule of character death is if you didn't see him die, they didn't die.
Right.
Yeah.
So
which of course means Stannis is still out there somewhere.
So while we're talking about the people that died, because there was a talk earlier that we thought a lot more people would die. Well, 90% of their army died, just not the important people.
Yeah.
But people keep thinking this show is brutal. They kill people all the time. Yes, they do. But with the exception of the explosion of the Great Sept of Baelor, this was pretty much more named people killed in one episode than we've seen in any other. Because it's more people dead than died at the Red Wedding that matter.
The problem with it was the way they did it. There were so many times where they made you feel like someone was going to die and then pulled it away from you that it just got redundant to the point where no one's dying in this episode.
I didn't see that. I mean,
Jamie. There was a dozen times that Brienne and Jamie should have died when they were overwhelmed with hundreds of things crawling over them that they managed to survive to the point where it's like they're just not going to die.
I will agree with Pete that the way that stuff was presented, it almost got to the point where it was kind of comical, or it lost any impact because there they still are again, backs up against that wall, literally completely buried by 5 minutes later, they're still in the exact same position.
Yeah, where are these?
Nothing has changed.
But here's the big difference, and there's a couple of things. And then a buddy of mine actually said this actually proves, like in a lot of ways, Dungeons and Dragons. He said because he's like, you look at the people that were like who were fodder for the undead. You look at the why can't I think of the names?
Said.
Well, no. Okay, so but you look at the people that were like. That were that were dying quick. The horse riders were dying quick.
Dothraki
dying quick. The regular people dying quick and things like that. And then you look at the people that are living and they continue to live. Why are they living? They're wearing freaking plate armor. I mean, Brienne's got plate armor on.
And they
Jorah
had
Mormont.
they spent their entire life studying martial arts.
Yeah, and it's just like, and Jorah Mormont, he's wearing full suit of plate armor. I mean, it's just like, you have these crazy undead attacking. Yes, they're going to get the occasional cut in on you, but they're not going to hit anything vital.
But in D&D, regular skeletons suck, right, Lance?
Well, yeah, they do. One hit dice creatures, man. I mean, it's just
and that's fair enough. I just think, to Pete's point, I mean, I accept the fact that yes, they were never really in danger, but it was presented almost as an afterthought that, oh, look how bad it is. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they didn't justify or earn how bad it was because it was clearly okay. And maybe it would have been better just to say, oh, well, look, some close-ups of, look how that armor keeps saving them. And again, that just comes down to, I suspect they probably had a half an hour more in the can that they filmed for this. That they said, no, we got to keep it at under an hour and a half.
Why, though? Why do they have to keep it under an hour and a half?
They are literally trying, I don't know why, but they're keeping costs down. The fact that they've switched from film to digital, in and of itself, indicates that they are trying to cost cut for this season, which just flies in the face of any expectation. There's some new HBO executive who was trying to make a name for himself by ensuring that this season, which they expected to cost X, is really only going to cost Y, and the great unwashed masses won't know the difference.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact is like, okay, so we've had this cash cow of a TV show that we've guaranteed ourselves how many subscribers, like new subscribers or subscribers coming back or whatever, or just keeping the HBO thing. It's like, but the cash cow is going away, and if this season cost us, as you say, X amount of money, let's make sure that we make as much money as we possibly can out of the last season of our cash cow.
I think part of the thing with just showing them in peril, but they don't die, they had to keep constantly having the main characters in peril. One, I think the main reason is just to screw with everybody, because everybody thinks they're going to kill everybody, that they're not afraid to kill people. So we're going to have you sitting there the whole time going, are we going to kill him? Are we going to kill him? Are we going to kill him? Just to keep you hanging on there. But I think they pushed it 30 minutes too long.
Yep.
I think eventually you're like, just fucking kill him and be done with it.
Yes, it would have been better off, I think, not every 5 minutes seeing that, once again, they're still completely surrounded. Show up surrounded, and then just don't show them for the rest of the episode. And
make you wonder until the end.
Constantly reminding they're on the cusp of death. Mm-hmm. I agree with that, and because me, I tend to not be critical of anything. But my biggest problem with the episode though was I just bought a new bulb for my projector because I was going to watch it on the big screen, and
dark as shit.
It was too fucking dark. I had to go back to my regular little my flat screen. That was a real bummer.
Well, I find that darkness, that's another cost savings, right? You can hide a lot of bad special effects.
That's a good point. That's a fair point.
And Game of Thrones did not invent that. Every goddamn new Batman movie's dark, and all these movies with all the fight scenes in the dark. That's a great way to hide wires.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, it was super dark, and I didn't really much care for that. But I mean, it is also like, that's the battle.
You have to be reminding yourself it would be this dark. This is just trying to put us in the moment.
Yeah.
And so you'll go with it, but still, I want to see it on the big screen.
Yeah, they did a really good job of showing the basically looking into the darkness and not being able to see. I mean, it was eerie. And
not doing the whole let's see glowing eyes or any of that, not playing to expectations. I thought all that stuff was really done. That basically the Dothraki literally just ran into a wall that they never saw in the darkness, or they only saw it the last possible second because those swords didn't really cast very much light.
So why couldn't the dead just climb the big ice wall since they just scrambled right up the side of that castle?
Because the ice wall isn't it like a freaking mile and a half tall or something ridiculous like that?
So they don't get tired, they're dead.
Well, and also the wall itself was magical, and it actually was a barrier that the dead can't cross over. That's why they needed the dragon to destroy it. It's I think they mention it a couple of times in the show, but in the book it is very specifically mentioned that Bran the Builder ensorcelled the wall as well to make it so the dead cannot pass it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I would say prevailing wind patterns, once you get 500 feet into the air, they will literally get blown off because they're not smart enough to use carabiners.
Why not? They use swords.
Do they?
Yeah. Did you not see them chop up?
They were all armed with swords.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, they didn't really make much of an impact. I mean, zombies on Walking Dead, I have a better visual sense of them. And I guess, again, it's just because it was all so dark.
No, they were riding horses and they had swords and all sorts of stuff.
Were the dead were riding horses?
The White Walkers were.
I mean, the White Walkers do, but
they're still dead
beings.
Right.
They're not mindless thralls.
Yeah, and in the books, they're actually like they talk about how like some of them are even riding like giant undead spiders and weird things like that. It's much more fantastic in the books, but I mean, obviously that stuff just doesn't transfer over well to the show.
Yeah,
so
it costs too much money.
Well,
they can't afford it.
Well, I mean, like they in the books the dire wolves are like the size of dogs. I mean, they're huge. I mean, the size of horses. They're literally huge, and that's why like they're like as scary as they are, and they're not just a tougher wolf.
Does it feel like the size of the dire wolf goes up and down throughout this series? Like they've gotten bigger and then shrunk down and then gotten bigger again a couple of times?
A lot of it is perspective. I mean when they brought Nymeria back, they made sure to like show her up and over, you know, to make it look more impressive and be above Arya and stuff like that.
Well, sometimes Ghost looks massive. Sometimes he looks like a freaking, husky. And it goes in between, it seems like.
Yeah. It's because I'm sure there's scenes where he's just a dog. He's just a dog, that they have. And then there's scenes where he's CGI. So it's, they kind of, once again, play a little fast and loose with that and run with it. Yeah, I mean, it was the people that we said goodbye to, the people they all kind of had a fitting moment. I mean, Edison Tollett, I mean, he was just like, whatever. You can't really say much about that. I mean, you knew he was going to be just
the third knight, the Three Musketeer.
Yeah, he was the Dolores Ed or Edison. Yeah. Dolores Ed. Yeah, there's two or three different names he's got, but Ed.
Yeah.
Him.
Well, he does have a purpose because you don't need a Night's Watch anymore.
Well, that's true.
So he was a very safe character to kill.
Yeah. I mean, you knew Theon was as soon as they said, and Theon said, "I'll protect you, Bran," I was like, "Well, you're dead."
You're dead.
I was just, I was like, Jorah was like, it was
as
like.
As soon as Khaleesi crashed and he went to her aid, he's dead.
Yeah, and then when Melisandre came out of the night, I was just kind of like, well, that's weird, because I was wondering when they're going to bring her back. Mm-hmm. And then actually that made me think that Davos might die, because I always said, well, Davos has got to live because he's got to kill Melisandre. But then like she came back and said, don't worry, I'll be dead before
I thought dawn. He would be dead, except for I think they let him live so that he could see her die.
I think they let him live because he's such a fantastic actor, and he embodies that role.
Didn't stop him from killing Barristan Selmy. He was
but I mean, Barristan. I mean, like, there's lots of things, but I mean, like, so if you haven't read the books, it's tough to explain. But like, Barristan Selmy was basically the conglomeration of 3 or 4 different people that are all part of Daenerys's like bodyguards that travel with her in those books. And so Barristan, there's 2 or 3 other people, and they're all like this diverse group of people that they're just taking care of Dany and watching out for her. And some of them are still alive, some of them are dead. And Barristan Selmy is just kind of like that part of that, and like and he isn't like really Barristan Selmy, I guess is a way to say it. I don't know. I mean, it's just that was just the time, for him to be done. They have to like kind of.
But he's not dead in the books yet, right?
No, but he will be.
So. No, I'm sure they're killing that.
I'm kind of curious, Lance, as the resident book expert.
Of course, I wouldn't say that. But go ahead.
Compared to the rest of us, obviously, I mean, is there only one more book outstanding that covers all this stuff? There's 2 more. Do you have any insight based on what you know? Because it used to be, for seasons, there was on the Wikia, after every episode, there were people who did very, very thorough breakdowns of, okay, here's where it's diverted, here's the characters who've been omitted, here's the grander, and I always loved reading that stuff, and it's so sad it's not there anymore. Do you have any observations about what you anticipate will happen at these beats in the books?
It's so weird because like Dance with Dragons, it brings up like there's characters in Dance with Dragons that have never shown up that are major players that I hesitate even mentioning them but I can't see them showing up in the TV show with 3 episodes to go. But there are like huge major things that like muddy up the story so much in comparison to the TV show. I mean, one huge one, and this isn't really I don't think there's any way.
Is it the Caitlin Stark thing?
No, well, that's one of them.
The Targaryen dude.
The fact that one of the 2 babies is still alive, and that were supposedly killed. One of the Mad King's like 2 babies that were supposedly killed by the mountain. The boy child was spirited away and hidden and raised by people that were loyal to the Targaryen bloodline. Mm-hmm. And he's actually got an army and he's invading Westeros.
Oh, by the way.
yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's just like, and there's going to be kind of a weird showdown between him and Daenerys coming up in the books.
Wow.
It's just like, oh yeah, by the way, that didn't happen. It's like, there's stuff like that that's going on. And then in fact, one of his 2 people that like is that raised him is the guy that actually got the grayscale disease, like Jorah did. Uh-huh. And so they've kind of adopted that storyline for Jorah. Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. It's like just I mean, it's there was a meme that said what was it? It was like it showed the Davids or whatever, one of them, and it was just a thing, and it said sorry, cat, get out of here. It said since after season 5 we had to abandon the books with season 6, and so with season 7 we said, why not just abandon all sense of logic? And I was like, that's funny. But I mean, I think they've done a pretty good job. And then, like, one of the other weird things, like Sansa in the books is nowhere even near Ramsay. Ramsay's actually captured one of her friends, Jane Poole, and is like saying
disguised as her or something.
Yeah, disguised as her, and that's the person that's being, like abused by him. It isn't even Sansa, and it's just like, which is a much, and it's just it's such a screwed up like difference, and in a lot of ways, and who knows one way or the other, but in a lot of ways, I'm guessing if I was George R. R. Martin, I was like, oh, that's a better idea. I should have used that. Just like it was like one of those things where I'm pretty sure he's like, oh yeah, you're kind of maybe telling my story a little bit better than I did, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, then again, what, Dance with Dragons came out 7 years ago. That book came out, and we still don't have the Winds of Winter. So it's like, what am I going to be in my 60s when I finally read the last book?
He'll be gone by then.
You think? I remember seeing an Onion article where it said in failing health, George R. R. Martin turns over the writing to Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I've never been more secure in knowing my my image will carry forth or whatever.
Hey, Lance.
Yeah.
So do you think didn't they kind of co-opt that Targaryen because his name was Aegon, which is the name that they gave Jon Snow. Right?
Yeah.
So they've kind of converted that. And there's no zombie cat.
No, there's no zombie cat either. I just it's one of those things where I think they'll do just fine. With he'll I mean he'll get it done. I mean I honestly think he'll get the books done. It's just I mean how do I know, like what George R. R. Martin thinks and does off in the distance or whatever. But I mean it seems to me like I don't think he has a lot of inspiration to get that book done. I mean, it's just like I mean, obviously he's making hand over fist money with the show. He's talking about after this is done, they're going to do more like Game of Thrones stuff, but they're going to go and tell like the stories from before, and they're going to like tell like kind of prequels and stuff like that, and kind of tidy things up.
Those have historically done well.
Yeah, but people will still watch them, right?
Oh, they will. That's why I think this franchise isn't far from over, and I feel like that's why why they're cheaping out on this season. Yeah, the show may be ending now, but they could spin off so many different things and get people right back to HBO. I don't know. Like I said, I'm disappointed in this season, and hasn't captured me like it's captured you guys at all.
Hey, Martin gave an update last month and said that the writing of Winds of Winter is going very well lately.
Which doesn't mean anything.
He put the word "the" on a page. All right, I did something.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it's just, I mean, and the nice thing is that, I mean, for those of us who have read the books, eventually we'll be able to get to read them again. And we'll get to kind of move forward with that, and then just but at the very least, for those of us who are like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting forever for this, it's like we're gonna see an ending to the story, right? And it's just like, and I'll get to see it. I mean, I remember when Dance of Dragons was taking forever. I mean, when I got my copy of Dance of Dragons in my hands, I was like, I can't believe I actually have this in my hands. I've been waiting for it for so long. I was like just absolutely stunned that I actually had the book, and then I read it in 2 days. And I was like, and I remember, and it's probably the weakest book in the series. Just some of the stuff they do, and I don't know. I remember being really, really mad when the show started like kind of going off on its own little thing and making certain, like, basically like killing off certain characters and throwing certain characters in the way, and I was like, oh, this sucks. And now I'm like, actually this is pretty good. I was like, at the time I was pretty annoyed, but yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like you just kind of you kind of roll with it, and it's one of, if not the best TV shows ever on TV.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Lance, did you read Fire and Blood?
Yes, I did.
Is it worth it?
If you want to get your fix, yeah, I would say that Fire and Blood is worth it.
I'm bummed my mom didn't get to see the end of this show because she had been watching it with me. So that sucks.
Oh no! Oh wow!
So yeah, they took an extra freaking year to get it done, so she didn't live to see it.
Wow.
Which is
how far ahead of time did you know that she was going to pass?
I mean, she'd been sick for the entire time that this show was on.
I mean,
so
I asked
no wins, but
you always hear about those. I've got terminal cancer, and if I could only live 3 more months, I could see the next Guardians of the Galaxy film. And okay, Disney flew out a pre-screener with placeholder effects and stuff like that. Did you guys ever talk about that, or did you have more pressing issues? I assume.
No, we never talked about that. But it's just one of those things. When she went downhill, it went down quicker than that, and I knew she wouldn't make it to see it. When they announced they were pushing it back, I went, well, shit.
Yeah.
But she was pretty disgusted when John and Daenerys got it on.
Oh no!
She was like, I'm
where she
so
checks out.
sick.
That's the last thing she gets to see.
Yeah, the last thing she gets to see is incestuous relationships.
Well, here's the thing about
Which,
that.
is the cornerstone of Game of Thrones anyway.
Exactly, yeah. For her, it ends the way it starts. Really.
Exactly.
Well, and here's the thing that's really weird about that is that it's like, I mean, I obviously, like, they're not like specifically pointing it out, and they're not like saying, okay, this is kind of weird now. They're not saying it, but it's like you think they'd have to address it eventually. I mean, once again,
they just don't talk to each other now, right?
Yeah, they're just
like, this is awkward.
This is weird. Let's just move forward.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I guess, Pete, I mean, it's like, this is weird, man, because I'm kind of on this other side of the fence with you here, and I'm like, yeah, I just can't understand hating that episode so much that the rest of the season is just like, I mean,
I didn't say I hated it so much. It disconnected me so much that I'm not excited for next week. Because, and I'm not going to say anything else because next week goes into the future, but it's just, this one took me out of it. I was excited all the way up to this episode, thinking this was going to be some.
You were disappointed by the previous one as well. They all talk.
They were, but I was excited that this would be the one that would get me back excited again. This is going to be action packed. There's going to be lots of, things. The big battle. I was excited for this episode, even though the previous two were snooze fests for me for the most part.
Pete, I know you've got forgiveness in you because you've watched other shark movies after Jaws 3D and Jaws Revenge.
Yeah, that is possibly true, but it's going to have to be a great episode 4 for me to even be excited to watch the rest of it.
Well, in the end, you should just be glad it'll be over, so you can at least triumph and dance on its grave when it's over.
I will.
I just feel bad for you the same way I feel bad for Lance that he can't enjoy Last Jedi.
This is my Last Jedi. This episode is my Last Jedi. Where everyone else is praising its glory, I think that it was just predictable, boring, and safe. Way safer than it should have been for a big epic battle about an unstoppable force that had been preluded to for the last 4 seasons.
Wait, weren't you the one just making the argument that this still had the biggest body count of anything outside of?
No, that was Keith.
Oh, was that Keith? Okay.
No one important died. None of the key characters died. Yeah, Joran was a pretty major character, but nobody else of a weight that would have carried an emotional impact died in this giant siege.
I've got my explanations, but we can't talk about them because that's
nope, that's fine.
Well, okay. But I'm gonna say this.
Talk about the past. You can talk about the future.
You know what really made me think that he was gonna die? In episode 2, they list off all the people that are gonna be on the show, and then they said with Ian Glenn. And when you have it, after everybody's saying it's like, so when you have somebody with the special with so and so, that means they're getting more money, and that means they're getting special like focus. And I was like, I bet you some agent somewhere said, you know what, if he's only going to be in half these episodes, you're going to give him more money and you're going to pay him for the full season. You're going to give him a whiff credit. And I was like, in the back of my head, this little gnawing gremlin was saying that in the back of my head. And I was just like, so, I mean, which is dumb. It's very meta. It's very, very like, but came true. So, yeah, I just, it's, great actor. Did a great job with his role. I still remember like the first time I remember seeing him when when they were trying to bring Khal Drogo back or whatever, and he's like, I'm going to go put on my armor, and and then he stood outside the tent, and then he had that one fight with the one guy, and basically the guy tried to stab him and he just caught his sword, and it's like, yeah, that's why you fight with armor, dummy.
I have a question for you. We're going to go back one episode. We're going to go back to episode 2. How many of you felt like filthy, dirty old men when little Arya Stark was getting naked with Gendry?
Oh, I was like looking away from the screen.
I'm like, don't do this to me.
There's the throw up your popcorn.
I know she's legal, but come on.
Well, and then did you see that she sent out a tweet that said, for all of you who are feeling uncomfortable watching that moment, remember I was watching that with my brothers, my sisters, and my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm just like,
and Sophie Turner's tweeting out, Guess what Arya just did?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and then like they actually said like the most commonly Googled thing at that moment was how old is Maisie Williams? Like people and I mean, and I was like, oh geez, and my wife like snagged her phone. She said she's 22, and I was like, it still doesn't make it okay. I watched her grow up. You know,
it's like no, I don't want to see it.
Yeah, but no,
but I get it. You know, it's shown that she's a woman now, right? And that's part of the story too.
Girl, you'll be a woman.
And you know what? That day and age to make it as old as she was without, that's pretty impressive.
I mean, she did say that like she was happy, but I mean, I remember I saw something where she said she was happy that this finally happened because now she didn't have to wear constricting clothes to basically like make herself look not like a woman anymore. Yeah, like her costumes won't be as tight. So that's interesting. Yeah. No, I think that it'll I'm excited to see where this goes. One thing that stinks is that I had to call in every last favor with my wife because the last episode, the very, very last episode of Game of Thrones, I am away at Geekway. And I come home like at 11:30 at night on Sunday. And I said, please, honey, will you just wait? Will you just wait until I get home? We can like watch it at midnight when I get home. And she was just like, and then she was like, I'll just watch it and I'll watch it again. I was like, no, because like one of the weird things is that this show has basically been on. My wife and I have been together for like we're coming up on our 12th wedding anniversary coming up, and you know it's basically almost like a bookend. Like it's weird. It's like I said, it's going to be so weird for us not to have another Game of Thrones season. Like literally, like this has been part of our like. It's like it's Sunday. Come on, let's go. It's like get the kids to bed. Go to bed. You know, just like you know, and it's something that we get excited for, and like I'm like okay, you know, and like, but thankfully she was like, I'll wait, and I was like, you can take a nap, and I'll get an Uber home, and like you know, when you have to come to the airport, and you know, I'll just. And so yeah, it was like I almost like I didn't even think about it. I was just like they just said, "Hey, can you go to Geekway?" And like I was like, "Yeah, that's fine. I can do that." And I was looking at the time. I was like, "Dude, oh no! What have I done?"
Oh,
just like, yeah.
Also, previous episode, how uncomfortable was the Giant's Bane and his giant milk story?
You know, I mean, Tormund is a good character. I mean,
Tormund
they're just
steals
spilling that shit down his face.
Steals every scene he's in. Tormund is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, like the whole thing between him and Brienne wasn't even supposed to be a thing. It was just a total ad lib moment that they both started having, and it was just like, you know, and so then they were just like, yeah, this is just like Lyanna Stark was supposed to be a throw off character. But she nailed the role so perfectly that they were like, we got to keep using her, and we got to keep using her in because she's so amazing. I'm stunned that they killed off an 11-year-old kid on the show. I mean, it was just kind of like, oh wow, you know. I mean, I was like, ooh, yeah, that's kind of brutal. But I guess it isn't like they haven't killed kids before in the show. It was Yeah, my wife said the same thing. It's like, you know, if you wanted to kill it, maybe you shouldn't scream at it as you're running towards it. Maybe it wouldn't have noticed you. You know, just like. But that wouldn't be very cinematic if you like crept up behind the giant and stabbed it in the back of the head or something. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I mean, I guess I understand Pete's arguments, and I have a lot of the same arguments. It's like there's so many things about it that like are such great payoffs to storylines that were put into play, you know, 6-7 years ago.
And in your guys' defense, you guys have been watching this from the very beginning. I speed watched the entire series last year.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not as emotionally invested in this show as you guys are. I only started watching it because we were coming out with a game based off the books. So I started watching it, and while I did enjoy the first 6 seasons, going into season 7, or 7 seasons going into season 8, I haven't been watching it for the last 12 years. I've been watching it for the last 12 and a half months.
I do agree that the speed watching, binging like that, I think definitely takes something away from the experience. You know, it doesn't sit with you the same way.
I don't have an entire off season waiting for the next season. I'm watching next season next week, where you guys are talking about it and theorizing and all this stuff for months and months prior to episodes coming out. Other than this gap between 7 and 8, I watched the whole thing in less than a year. So.
I guess what you're saying to me is more accurately is you and I can't be friends anymore.
Cool. See you later, Jedi.
Oh. Let the dog out. My son, you just made me think of it. My son has like the banners that you can like that are just the letters or whatever. My son on his wall in his room says, I am a Jedi like my father before me. Yeah, every time I see that, I smile. I'm like, that's damn right, I'm a Jedi. Yeah, just like, I don't know. I am excited to see how these next 3 go. I'm excited to. And without any prognostications, without any guesses, without any.
Rado's letting his dog out. You can talk now.
Oh, I can. Well, no, he's going to come back, and he'll come back in mid conversations. That's not really fair to him.
Yeah. No, I needed a good next episode to get excited for the finale. Otherwise, it's just I'll watch it so that I can watch it. But my excitement level went from an 8 to like a 5.
Did you pause it and you could see that the one dragon, his wings are all torn up?
I did not.
I did.
Yeah.
But
anyway, and we're done.
No, this is okay. This is not prognostication. The people were bitching about me included, the darkness of the episode. The cinematographer for the show says a lot of the problem is a lot of people don't know how to tune their TVs properly.
Oh, give me a freaking break.
Personally, I don't always see what's going on because it's more about emotional impact.
Bullshit. Everyone's got a 4K TV now. You shot the shit on 30-year-old digital technology.
I don't have a 4K TV.
I don't either.
Yeah. Jeez, Mr.
I do, and it
Moneybags
still
over
looks
here.
like shit.
Somebody's running Game of Thrones miniature game.
Well, I had heard as well that because so many people were watching it on HBO Go all simultaneously that it did overload their servers, and that people, some people, depending on their internet provider, definitely had a worse experience than others, and all that kind of stuff as well.
Well, if you're watching it on the go, isn't that on an iPad or a monitor? Or can you stream it? I guess you could stream it to a TV too. So
Yeah,
sure, I have HBO Go on my Roku on my TV.
Yeah.
And
I am a huge believer. I mean, obviously you can't. A lot of people they're too excited. You can't wait. You are way better off waiting a half hour and starting it then, and you get better picture quality.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're going to stream it, wait till the entire planet isn't watching it at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, it does help out a lot. I mean, and you're not fighting with every Tom, Dick, and Harry trying to roll in there. You can get in and it works pretty well.
The problem is people are afraid to be spoiled, so they got to watch it first.
What, you should not turn on the internet since you're at home at
some people can't do that.
There has been a lot of discussion on social media about people saying, hey, if you don't want to get spoiled, don't go on social media. And there were so many times I wanted to just post Rado's quote. Just like, yeah. Spoilers are shitty, and people that do it are fucking assholes. Well, it's such a great quote.
Richard's not in the green room, so he didn't see the article. But the guy in Hong Kong that spoiled Avengers walking out got the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, going outside, and he was yelling about who died, and the crowd just turned on him and beat
just pummeled his ass.
I don't support violence in any way, but I mean
that guy had it coming.
It's one of those things where it's like, maybe the karma caught up pretty quick, on that one for him. But spoilers are shitty, and people that do it are fucking assholes. Richard Ham. I mean, it's But I mean, yeah, I think for the most part, people are being pretty good about it, though. They're not being spoilery. They're being pretty good about keeping it to themselves.
Unless you're in a news, they at
Or
least
unless you're on
they
the
warn you
Buffalo
it's
Bills.
spoilery. But man, the news people like to talk about the show spoilers.
Yeah,
they do.
Here's one of the weird things is that like I remember I was just and like it was, I'll take some ownership like on Facebook or whatever, like but people that think that they aren't being spoilery are still being spoilery. Like I saw one comment where it was like it said it's like non spoilers here. Endgame starts really kind of slow, but once I was like click, I was like that's already spoiling of it. It's like you're telling me. You're feeling as far as spoilers go, it's really it's not like, oh, by the way, this person dies. It isn't that, but it's
still something you would rather discover yourself in the moment.
Like Entertainment Tonight was talking all about the death of the Night King and showed the scene where Arya stabbed him. I'm like, the show, it's only Tuesday. Like, do you guys not realize you're spoiling the show for people maybe you didn't get to see it? Like, they don't care. My wife was watching it, and I'm like, I'm glad I watched it because that would have really pissed me off watching a show you wouldn't expect to see that kind of stuff on it.
But I remember this was back when like we didn't have like streaming for it, right? And like we were watching the show Dexter. Has anybody watched Dexter? Has anybody not watched Dexter?
I watched 2 seasons or 1 season.
Okay, so I mean this is kind of a spoiler or whatever. And so Richard, is this going to bother you?
I've watched it all the way to the end.
Okay, so
pretty sure we've had time to watch it if we haven't.
Okay. So here's the thing. So literally, like, okay, hey, we're getting ready to watch most recent season of Dexter. Okay, so we had to buy the DVDs. Okay, fine. Who cares? I pre-ordered them, got the Blu-rays. Let's set it up and watch it. I throw the first disc in. I start it up, and you can actually find this. Like people lost their shit with Showtime. So it starts up, right, and it's like. And it's the season where his sister finds out that he's killing people. And my wife gets up to go use the bathroom. I'm watching, literally, it's like the ad for Showtime. It's like, Showtime, the best shows ever. And they show the scene where his sister discovers that he's the serial killer. And I was just like, ah!
Oh, no.
Ah! my wife comes back in the room. And so I sit through like 8 episodes of that season waiting for the moment. And she's like, oh my God. I was like, yeah, it got ruined for me like 7 days ago. I was just like, who does that? Who puts that in your own thing? I remember just like writing a very tersely angry email to Showtime that I put far away. Yeah, that'll show them. Somebody said delete. Just like, thank you for your concern. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's just spoilers are shitty. Nice one, Cat.
Hey, Scott's back.
Scott, what you want to say anything about?
Scott did jump in.
He's gone.
We kept on blathering, and then he left. But I see he just put something on the thread.
You must not have seen Dexter yet.
Yeah. Get out.
Yeah, back in like it was like Showtime ruins last season of Dexter finale as soon as you start the Blu-ray disc. If you're a fan of the TV program Dexter, you remember that something rather important happened in the last 30 seconds of the last episode of the last season. And something that's like, so basically, like in the case of a reader viewing is on DVD, that pivotal scene is the first thing you see. It's part of a promotional clip for the very DVD you've just sat down to watch. Just like, yeah. And then the response was that we assumed the people that had purchased the DVDs had already like watched the season. We're just trying to rewatch it. You suck. So, but yeah. This cat must need food. There's no reason why she'd be bothering me right now. I'm not feeding you. Get out of here. So Scott keeps popping in and out. I would love to hear his thoughts.
He said we covered it all. That's what he said in chat.
Oh, all right. Fine. Whatever. He's probably playing too much Apex Legends now anyway. So.
I'm gonna go to bed so we can talk. So I can talk again tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
I'm done.
Yeah, we can actually. We can maybe do. Well, no, we don't do any spoiler talk or any. We can do prognostic. Nope. No, we can't do anything tomorrow. That's right.
Nope.
That's fine. That's fine. I think we covered it all. I think this was good. I like this. This was this. I'm a little sad that Marty didn't join us. I'll be fair. But then again, it isn't Friday, and he goes. They give him his pills and they send him to bed early. So, but yeah. All right, boys. Well, everybody who tuned in, we actually got a good crowd. We got like 25 people tuning in.
That's like twice as many as watch tomorrow's show.
No, but everybody, thanks for tuning in for this. This cat. Thanks for tuning in. I just realized she was like staring right at me, and I was like, looking over here.
What's up?
Yeah, what's going on?
Put some pants on, or I'm going to attack it.
Am I on the interwebs?
Because it's looking down at your crotch.
I don't know. She wants to crawl on my lap so she can be petted right now. Is what she wants more than anything, and I tend to. Yeah,
when interaction with you and your cat is more exciting than the last episode.
When nobody is watching, I am very nice to this cat. But that's the only time when. So no, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Richard, thanks for joining us.
Sure.
And Keith, and then tomorrow night.
It was dumb luck that you happened to do this for this evening because my wife and her mom are out in Portland and probably won't be home for another half hour. So I was able to get in a timely fashion, which was.
And
nice.
how's your mom doing? By the way, I haven't asked her.
Oh, my mom is in the hospital again with a second GI bleed. They cauterized 4 of them. So we'll see how that goes. And also, the last stay ended up costing us $1,200. So I'm looking forward to seeing how much this one will cost. Yeah, that's a bummer.
Sorry to hear about it, friend.
But that's the real bummer. The reason Jen's mom is here is because she was told about a month ago that she probably has less than a year to live because they found a really aggressive cancer they didn't expect that's in her spine. And so she is here making her, her tour with her daughters. Yeah, so that's very heavy times in the house, but we'll get through it. Yep, people get old, people die.
Sadly, it's true.
Yes.
So sorry, man.
Doesn't make it any damn easier.
Nope.
No.
But all right, boys. Well, thanks. And then tomorrow night, same time, same channel. I might even have initials for tomorrow. Not that Richard will play, but What if they were all like Star Trek initials?
All Star Trek, yeah.
Oh, maybe, right?
All Star Trek meets MCU.
There. Nice. That's a tough road to hoe. But all right, boys. I'll talk to you later.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.